Welcome back. You're watching our special edition of Global Lens from Washington, D.C. On the sidelines of the U.S.-India Strategic Partnership Forum Leadership Summit, I caught up with Daniel Yergin, who is a renowned name when it comes to energy markets and the global economy. He's the Vice Chairman of S&P Global, also the author of the book, The New Map. Let's listen in to what he had to say about the outlook for the U.S. economy, ties between U.S. and India, and the trajectory of oil and gas prices. Joining us right now is the Vice Chairman of S&P Global, Daniel Yergin, who is the author of The Price and the New Map. Daniel Yergin, thank you so much for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. Let me begin by asking you about your outlook on the energy markets right now.
We're really at a time of transition and change in the oil market. First of all, the OPEC plus countries have decided that they're no longer going to restrict oil and putting oil back into the market. Secondly, we have the turbulence in the world economy, of course, because of the tariffs and the uncertainty about it. And thirdly, we're seeing while U.S. oil production is at a very high level, we're starting to see a kind of leveling off of it. So those are some of the big things. The other big thing is the role of LNG and the degree to which the United States has become the world's largest exporter of LNG. And those are both oil and gas, very important in terms of the relationship between the United States and India today.
Right. So give us a sense of the kind of growth you're expecting the U.S. to have as a global supplier of crude oil and LNG to the world.
Well, I think the United States is at a very high level. It's, as you say, it's crude oil, it's LNG, it's also liquids, other type of natural gas liquids, which are also a very important part of the export. And all of those, I think, have really geopolitically transformed the world energy market in a way that would not have been imagined 10 or 15 years ago. And it's clear to me that the oil and gas exports from the United States to India have been one of the foundations of this much stronger and wider and deeper relationship between India and the United States.
Right. Ever since Trump administration took over, India has been promising to buy more oil and gas from the US. As per your estimate, how much could this increase from now to possibly the end of this year?
Well, I don't know the specific numbers, but clearly the Trump administration sees exports of oil and natural gas as being part of the way to rebalance the economic relationship with countries. And that was true. That was true in the first Trump administration, and it's certainly true again today. It's one of the important attributes for getting balance in the relations, which is the focus of President Trump.
How do you think India is going to get impacted? There is a new bill which is going to come up in the Senate which proposes 500% tariffs on countries which are importing Russian oil. Now, India, China could be among those hit. How closely are you watching this?
Well, watching it very closely. 500% tariff is a very big tariff. I think the number of senators who support it is something over 80. What it would actually be in terms of done, we'll see, but it's really part of this effort to put pressure on Putin to stop this war, which had no purpose in the beginning and just continues. It's unbelievable. It's been going on over 3 years, and his war objectives have never been clear. And so I think this reflects, at least on the part of the Congress, wanting to do something. The president is still seeing if he can manipulate the relationship with Putin to get a settlement. But, at least the meeting that they had today in Istanbul was not promising at all. And Russia has stepped up its most deadly attacks ever on Kiev.
Right. Let me also ask you about your view on the trajectory of oil prices going forward.
Well, I think we're in a different period of oil prices now. We would have said last year we're in this kind of $70 to $80 range. We're in a different range now. It seems to be more in the $60, and some think, is it going to go below that? One of the key questions is we've seen a leveling out in Chinese demand for oil, and over half of the growth for 2 decades in oil demand came from China. And the U.S. is perhaps has flattened out as well. So I think it is a different period. But of course, the growth, where is the growth going to be? It's going to be in the emerging markets. It's going to be developing world. It's going to be countries like India, which will be where the future growth will be.
Right. On the economic front, the tariffs have created a lot of uncertainty. Donald Trump has said that he would like to raise tariffs on steel and aluminum from 25% to 50%. There is a legal challenge to the tariffs as well. They've got a temporary reprieve. But how is all of this going to impact the U.S. economy?
Well, I think that's been the question that's been hanging over the U.S. economy for some time, both in terms of inflation, and the other thing that people pay less attention to is what does it do to the supply chains. If you're building an offshore oil platform in the Gulf of America, as it's now known, you're going to use a lot of steel. And about 25% of U.S. steel is imported, and so we've already seen the cost go up. So I think it's something that is kind of filtering through the system. I think the president sees lower energy prices as a way to balance out the inflationary impacts of these higher tariffs, but this is still, still in the beginning of a very different kind of era, and the kind of system of rule-based order that had been customary now for 3.5 decades is gone, and but I think that the tumult is not going to be over quickly. We're going to get into a period, I think, in August and September where there's going to be a crunch period.
Crunch period. What do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, because they've got to pass the budget, they've got to deal with that bill, and at the same time, the challenges and negotiations, there are framework discussions, but we've seen today the Chinese, a couple of weeks ago it looked like, oh, there's a framework for U.S.-China, and now both sides are recriminations, criticizing each other.
So August, September, we might see some clarity or further disruptions.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a clearest period. You know, it's one of the things when you just look back at history, you see often it's during August when surprising and tumultuous things happen. At least in the northern hemisphere, people are on vacation, and I think so we should keep our eye on August.
My final question to you would be your outlook on the Indian economy right now. How do you see things amidst geopolitical uncertainty?
Well, I think that one of the brightest spots in the whole world economy is the continuing growth of the Indian economy. And the Indian economy is so much bigger, so its impact is significant not only for India, but it's for the world, and its significance for the world economy. And I think the connection between the United States and India becomes more important for both countries, and that's what's unfolding today.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on the program.
Thank you.